Well, joining us now is Tim Fullerton. He's a former Obama administration official. So I'd like to just start out with the numbers here. How much is the gun industry estimated to be worth in the United States?
Oh, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and I think that, the groups like the NRA, their sole purpose is to make sure there are as many guns as possible across the U.S., which is why they and their allies in Congress on the Republican side work to weaken our gun laws rather than strengthen them to prevent situations like this horrible crisis that happened the other day.
How does the industry, in your opinion, drive the violence that we're seeing across the country?
Well, they help to push both a culture of fear and, again, also weakening those laws so that the proliferation of guns across the country is essentially out of control. The NRA and others on the right use fear. They talk about inner cities a lot, even though, they reference places like Chicago all the time as being dangerous. But the fact is that, red states or conservative states tend to have more gun violence than the blue states because they've got weaker gun laws. So they continue to stoke these fears that really, are not based in reality. In fact, doesn't mean these cities don't have problems, but the reality is that this is what they do to ramp up their base, get everybody, scared essentially, and essentially many people are just buying more and more guns all the time.
What are we hearing from corporate America specifically in response to this latest shooting? Because we did see a change in terms of sale of certain arms by companies like, I think it's Dickies Gooding, a goods sale, sorry, I can't remember the name of the company, but there have been businesses that have announced changes.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that, while the federal government has been slow to act, corporate America has stepped up in some cases. People have limited the access to guns. Some businesses have actually, who do sell guns, have actually superseded some laws. There's a loophole in the federal background check system that allows a sale to go through if the background check hasn't been completed in 3 days. Some businesses have actually said, no, we're not going to sell that gun until that background check has been completed. So there is some action in that area, which is a positive thing. But what we really need is Congress to enact stronger gun laws.
Dick's Sporting Goods, that's the name of the company that I was referring to. It came to me now. So, in your opinion, what role do you think that businesses have in keeping their customers and employees safe? Or is this really, does there need to be more of a directive from both local and federal government?
Really what we need is an all of the above approach. I mean, I think that we need all businesses to actually not sell a gun until a background check goes through. But what we really need is the federal government to close that loophole. It's called the Charleston loophole, and it's how the white supremacist was able to purchase a gun that killed 10 churchgoers in Charleston a few years ago. If that background check had been completed, he wouldn't have gotten that gun. So we really need both states and the federal government to step up and pass universal background checks. We need a ban on assault weapons. We need to close loopholes and make it easier for us to make sure that we keep guns out of the hands of bad people.
Now, I'd like to also ask you about, how easier access to guns impacts crime in neighboring countries as well, because this is not only an issue that is unique to the United States. We're seeing perhaps drug cartels as well find themselves with easier access to arms.
Well, yeah, the reality is that the more guns that are available, the less safe we are. The Republicans in Congress and the NRA always say that, we need more good guys with guns to combat bad guys with guns. Well, we have the most guns of any country in the world. So in theory, we should be the safest, and we're far from that. So when you have a proliferation of guns like that, it is much, much easier for the people that you mentioned, but basically bad actors, to get access to them, whether it's in a neighboring state or whether it's across a country line.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us, Tim Fullerton, kind of breaking that down, giving us your 2 cents on how the industry itself impacts the violence that we're seeing in the United States. Again, the question is whether or not we're going to see any changes actually made. This is, like we said, there have been almost 10,000 gun deaths in the United States within just the first 3 months of this year. So, will there be change? We have yet to see. I'd like to thank you for joining us again.